Should Utah be considered a top 10 team entering the 2024 college football season? A major college football analyst believes so. We're diving into that and more on today's Locked On Utes.
You are Locked On Utes, your daily podcast on the Utah Utes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for making Locked On Utes your first listen every single day. We are available on all platforms, including YouTube and wherever you may get your podcasts. If this is your first time listening to our show, make sure you like and subscribe. Love interacting with all of you in the YouTube comments as well as on social media, where you can follow our show at Locked On Utes on X. Today's episode of Locked On Utes is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. You can post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions do apply. Again, that's all caps, no spaces, Locked On College to post your job for free today. My name is JT Wistricll, former intern inside the University of Utah Athletic Department. Excited to be joined on today's show by KSL Sports' Alex Napoles. And Alex, when we're talking about this Utah football team, there's understandably a lot of hype and excitement entering this season due to all the returners. And that hype and excitement extends beyond Salt Lake City, all the way out to at least Colorado, where Joel Klatt resides. He is the number one game analyst for Fox Sports, is number one, the big noon kickoff game they do each week. Also an NFL draft analyst. He has a show called The Joel Klatt Show, which you can find on Fox Sports' various YouTube channels and all the things of that nature. I think he actually even has his own channel. But he put out his post-spring ball top 25 rankings. And Joel Klatt is, because he is his voice carries so much weight, his opinion and things just for how much time he studies in, someone I take notice of. And he has Utah ranked 6th overall in the country. We will dive into who is where and things like that, if that's fair for Utah in a moment. But I'll just say this right off the bat. I really like this for Utah. I think when you look at who is coming back, Cam Rising, as well as the way the schedule is shaping out in the Big 12 as well, potentially, when you're missing some teams like Kansas and Kansas State on the road, I think Utah is genuinely better than those teams too, but like those are just potential losses. But the returning talent, especially Cam Rising, the consistency that is Kyle Whittingham. We're going to talk about how consistent Kyle Whittingham is too in the second segment. Also, got to shout out the Utah softball team for what they've been able to do. We'll do that at the end of the show. But I think Utah is I would put Utah in the top 10, and I love that Joe Klatt's giving them some shine too, Alex.
Yeah, Joe Klatt's always been one of those guys who've been big on Utah. If you go back and look at some of his stuff from previous seasons, specifically, within the last 2 years or so, or 3 years or so, Klatt's been big on Utah, and I think that's just a testament to the culture and to just what Utah has built under Kyle Whittingham. This is a winning team. This is a winning program, and it's awesome to see Utah get that national recognition. But I also like that sometimes Utah falls under the radar and surprises these bigger teams, i.e., USC.
Very true. Very true. So let's talk about some of these teams that Joel has higher than Utah, and we'll see where we think it's fair or foul. Like I said, Joel has Utah at 6. I think it makes a lot of sense there. And he's even said, I remember when he did his postseason, like way too early in the spring, he had Utah like 8, I want to say, and he said he might be too low on them and want to move them up. He has Ohio State at number 1. Ohio State's NIL war chest went to absolute work this offseason, and they have a heck of a roster on paper. Zero issue with them being up there. Georgia, absolutely belong up there. Texas, think is totally fair. Quinn Ewers, really good season last year. Oregon at 4. Dylan Gabriel slots in for Bo Nix. They got some other key returners there too. Totally fine with that one. Ole Miss is then there at 5. Rebels, a lot of potential. Shout out former Utah high school quarterback Jackson Dart for what he's been doing over there. That one's totally fair too. You have Utah at 6, meaning I did not mention 2 brands in particular, Alabama and Michigan. Is Alabama at 7 and Michigan at 8. And I think there's some people's gut reaction is that's ridiculous. How can Utah be over Alabama and Michigan? Well, let's start with Michigan. They lost a lot. I don't know if you can find someone who can even name just the average college football fan, like who follows their team, not a Michigan fan. I wonder if they'd be able to name 5 guys on that roster that are coming back. It's not easy. They set a record for guys attending the combine. I don't think they set a record for guys drafted, but they had a lot of NFL interest too. And of course, they lost their quarterback. Now, Alabama did not lose their quarterback, but as is always the case, they lost several high contributors to the draft. Also saw some guys transfer out. I think Alabama is going to be very good still. But I tell you what, with all the returners that Utah is coming back, the consistency, the level of play we know that Cam Rising can shape up to be too. And I'll go back to the schedule as well, which is a lot more favorable rather than Bama, who I do think has to play Georgia and Ole Miss, as well as probably Missouri. The SEC added teams, so that's where things can get a little strange. I'm still not used to seeing Texas in the SEC for one thing, but that'll be weird starting this fall, as well as Oregon in the Big Ten. But I think you can absolutely make a case that Utah belongs over Alabama and Michigan, Alex.
For Michigan, for sure, and I'll make the case. There's one key piece that you didn't mention that is not returning, and that is Jim Harbaugh. I think a lot of success came from Jim Harbaugh and his staff, and to lose that staff, obviously some players aren't going to stick around. Most of them, after winning a national championship, you've already reached the peak of college football. Might as well move on to the next level. So this is going to be a completely brand new Michigan team. I still think they'll be good. I don't think they'll be number one status anymore. I don't think they'll be the powerhouse that they have been under Jim Harbaugh, at least not for a little bit. And the same thing goes for Alabama. Losing Nick Saban is a huge loss. Losing probably the greatest coach in college football in Nick Saban, excuse me. Is a huge loss. And so, and that's not to throw any knocks at Kalen DeBoer, because I think Kalen DeBoer will end up doing a fantastic job at Alabama, but you still lose that culture. You're building it from scratch. And I think that's why Michigan and Alabama find themselves so low in Klatt's rankings, because he probably agrees that it's a new era for both of those schools, and it's not going to be the same, and at least not for a little bit.
Let's not forget either, Alabama showed signs of really teetering last year. That loss to Texas was not a bad loss, even though Texas went into their house. They really had to get creative against UCF, if I'm correct. Like, that was an ugly win for them because they were still trying to figure out the quarterback room, and they got Jalen Milroe there. But you mentioned it's not easy to navigate those coaching transitions, and I think that's a great point in bringing up with both Alabama and Michigan, how different things are going to be this year for both of those programs. And I'll also say this, if there is some Alabama or Michigan fan who made their way over here, like, just because we say you're 7-8 does not mean we think you suck. This is like when you're talking about the GOAT debate, whether you like LeBron or Michael Jordan. If you got 1-1, you got 1-2. Like, wherever you have them, it's not a slight to the other to save that. You're not trying to tear one down in order to build one up like that. It's more of it's a preference thing like that. And the same thing like that. Being a top 10 college football team, it's not easy. I know Alabama belongs there. Michigan has started to belong there, despite what their fans may want you to think. They do not belong there over the totality of like the history of college football. But recently, I can understand why they'd want to be up there because of the things they've contributed to. But yeah, Utah being as high as 6, right? Like, you look at the offensive line, you're still going to have, and yes, there's some things they still need to figure out up front, right? But you have multiple starters returning up front. The defensive line in the front 7 is a top 5 run defense unit from last year. Granted, they lost their best pass rusher, but there are several, like Jonah Ellis, Van Fillinger as a run defender. I don't think there's a huge difference there. There's a big difference in the two is like a pass rusher, and same thing with the Connor O'Toole there. Like, I just don't expect the Utah run defense to fall off at all. The Utah secondary has proven year in and year out, no matter who is back there, they're going to produce. And they got a number of key contributors you trust, especially a guy in Zemiah Vaughn, who has been the top corner on this team for a second year now coming up and played alongside the Clark Phillips and some of the best corners Utah's had. Cam Rising looked really good in spring ball. He's going to be protected by an offensive line, as we kind of talked about. It's the best group of receivers we've seen in a long time. And we talked about the negatives of coaching for those other teams. Kyle Whittingham gives you a bump. And we are about to talk about how good Utah has been over the last 10 years under Kyle Whittingham, because it's honestly shocking. But to put a pin in this conversation until we talk about in the next one, yes, Utah's absolutely belong in the top 10 of college football. I'm not going to fall out of my chair if someone says Utah's not, but love that Klatt gave Utah their flowers at 6, and want to talk about why Utah does deserve to be ranked among the best teams also, just year in and year out, no matter who they have in there, because of the success they've experienced over the last few seasons in one moment. But first, I want to talk to you all about one of the sponsors of today's episode of Locked On Utes. It's our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. They have a vast network of your hiring professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're simply not looking in the right place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. You can hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. They're constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. So you can post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. That's Locked On College, all caps, no spaces, to post your job for free today. Alex, one thing really cool that was recently posted by the University of Utah athletic department was that Utah football is one of 10 programs that have had a winning season every year in the CFP era since 2014. Think about that. This is a Utah team that spent time in the Mountain West and is slowly but surely risen the ranks. They got beat up on a lot, or not a lot, but like they took their lumps early in their Pac-12 years too. And dating back to 2014, to every year having a winning record in a conference that, like the Pac-12, yes, had some down years, but credit Utah for rising above the Oregon and the USC's during some of those down years too. I think it's just a testament yet again to what an incredible coach Kyle Whittingham is and the job he's done constructing the Utah football juggernaut.
100%. It comes down to Kyle Whittingham, it comes down to recruiting, comes down to that coaching staff. They've done a tremendous job. And I like that you mentioned even the early years of the Pac-12. That, I think, considering that transition that Utah kind of struggled at the beginning of their time in the Pac-12, but yet still found the consistency to build that program and now come in with a winning record every year since the college football playoff started. I think that's huge. I think that's amazing. And like I said, it's just a testament to the amazing culture that Kyle Whittingham has instilled in this Utah football program that we're going to feel for generations to come.
We are, and I feel like they're set up to succeed after him, with him currently too. You know, a lot of these recruits are talking like he's going to be there another couple of years, which is kind of interesting if you go back to how long he's been talking about the potential of retirement, but something I'm definitely curious to watch about too. But yet another thing is just speaks to about how consistent this Utah football program's been is the depth, right? I know everyone was frustrated by how last season shaped out, but my gosh, if I would have told you guys that you would be down your starting quarterback, two of your top running backs, which Quindon was on or off, but like Mackay being out too. You're down offensive linemen, even like a Johnny Maea didn't play. We didn't get to see much of him last year, right? Receiving wise, you lose Brant Keith, he never comes back. Like that's a crushing blow too. Defensively, how many guys missed time on the defensive side of the ball too? Like all of these things, and yet Utah still had a winning record last year. They were 8-4 in the regular season. Their losses to teams like Oregon and Washington national championship game. Oregon nearly made it if they had beat Washington and were clearly the second best team in the Pac-12. Then you look at Arizona and how strong they came on late in the season too. And Oregon State, who's incredible at home, and Washington, a team that made the national championship game. They were the only one to beat them at home, and they were barely even able to squeak by the Beavers because that's how good they are. So it's a reminder yet again of last season. Like even when this Utah team isn't great, the fact that they're still able to make it and have a winning record so that they can hold this streak of being one of 10 programs that continue to have a winning record is just incredible.
Absolutely. And look, it comes down to just again developing these guys and getting them ready for these situations, because even when you're struggling and you're down on luck on your depth, some guys is going to step up and he's going to take he's going to put the team on his back. If go back a couple of years ago, right, when Huntley goes down and all of a sudden Shelley is in a couple of games and Shelley's leading this Utah team to some wins, right? It comes down to, again, just the culture that is built. It comes down to developing these players, and this coaching staff has done a phenomenal job of that. And again, it's just a testament to the work that they've done as far as building up that depth and having the depth to have these winning seasons. It's amazing to see.
Yeah, the only way you make this list is if you have elite recruiting, elite development, elite game management, and players that step up in the biggest moments as well, too, Alex. When you think back on this Utah program, it's kind of an impromptu one. We didn't prep for this before the show. Like, what's one of your favorite recent, like, came out of nowhere Utah football players? Like, I think of the Dalton Kincaids of the world. I didn't think Dalton Kincaid would go on to be a first-round pick. I could say a Devin Lloyd, too, a Brant Keithy's another one. So may have just taken yours and rattling those off. But, like, those are the kind of success stories we love about Utah, is that they're able to find these guys that not all these programs want, and help them not just bet on their character and their commitment, but help them grow into the player that they have a chance to be. But when you talk about a guy coming out of nowhere into a success story, who's someone that stands out to you?
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned Kincaid, because if you go back, and the only reason we had to rely on Kincaid was because of that the first Keithy injury.
Yeah.
And so he kind of took that opportunity and ran with it. So it's amazing to see stories like that. I think my favorite one that I can think of off the top of my head, oh man.
Yeah, I took a few of them from you, like I said. So I understand. Yeah. I took
the only ones
Lloyd,
I can think of is Lloyd and
Dalton.
Lloyd and Dalton.
Dalton, Grant Keithy, Devin Lloyd.
I'll have to go back in the memory banks and really think about
Devon
that
Vele
one.
is another one, right? Undrafted
yes.
free agent, comes on here and does really well. And I'm excited that he got drafted by the Broncos. I think he's got a real opportunity and a real chance. That's why on this show, throughout the offseason, guys, for those of you listening to us right now, I like to spend time giving the walk-ons their shine, because Utah has proven that at least one of these walk-ons, usually per class, earns major role and an opportunity for them. These are walk-ons who are beating out some 4-stars and things of that nature that come into this program. Utah has had some wide receivers that have come over that we expected to be big things, right? And yet here's Devon Vele as the top receiver on this team, who came in with 0 stars, I want to say. It's incredible, and just a testament to his commitment and work ethic. And that's what Utah does such a great job of, finding, developing players as well too. And the Kyle Whittingham effect, holding these guys to the standard, the culture that Utah has in place of the hours and the reps they put it on the field, the commitment to details, the development that each positional coach, all of the little things come together to make a program that is just one of 10 in college football that has not had a losing season in the last 10 years, which is just incredible that in the college football playoff era, Utah has never had a losing season. And now that the parameters have changed, I expect Utah to be in the college football playoff in 2024, which I think is really exciting. And we're all really excited about that upcoming opportunity. Unfortunately, we got to wait till the fall to see if Utah can live up to the lofty expectations that myself and many media members are setting for them. But I want to talk about the Utah softball program and the great Pac-12 tournament again that they just had, because last year, man, they were incredible last year too. So 2 years now going for this Utah softball team, where they've really showed out late in the season. No, they came up a little bit short, but still, what a run. And they're going to the NCAA tournament. We're breaking all of that down in one moment. But first, I want to talk to you about one of the sponsors of today's episode of Locked On Utes, our fantastic friends at FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on the spreads, money lines, player props, and more. You can visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. Speaking of the NBA playoffs, I'm a big Minnesota Timberwolves fan. By the time we were recording this, they probably just lost a game. So I'm glad I didn't bet on the Minnesota Timberwolves. But if you bet on the Denver Nuggets, props to you. So now the series is tied 2-2. Who's going to take it? Is Anthony Edwards going to emerge? Are we going to see his continual star growth, which has just been phenomenal to watch? Is Jokic going to continue to prove, no, I'm the best player on the planet? How about all the other series? Boston is dominating. Can Cleveland get back into that one? Indiana and New York is a 2-2 series now too. And Dallas has the leg up on OKC. So many fun series out there. And that's not even mentioning all the MLB, the NHL playoffs. All of it going down at FanDuel. So make sure you guys head over to FanDuel Sportsbook today. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Alex, talking about this Utah softball program, they came up just short against UCLA. UCLA is a dang good team. I mean, they're ranked number 6 nationally. So to fall to them 2-1, of course, disappointing. Gave up that late run to the Bruins in the 6th is a disappointment just in terms of the end result of that game being a loss. But what another great year for this Utah softball program. They continue to be at their best in Pac-12 tournament time, right? Because what they do in order to reach that game, you beat a really tough state Oregon team that's ranked 22, 7-4. You beat a Stanford team 2-1, who's ranked inside the top 10. And even if you look at their games right entering the tournament against Washington, right? 2 wins against the top 10 Huskies team. This is a team that's proven capable of stepping up in the tournament. They were 34-20 on the regular season. In the Pac-12 overall, just 10-13. But we know what a softball gauntlet the Pac-12 is. So this is a Utah team that's got a tough one, taking on top 25 South Carolina. But they just beat all these teams ranked inside the top 15. Who's to say they can't go out there and get the Gamecocks, right, Alex?
Absolutely. They got to go in that why not us mentality. for sure heading into this tournament, because I mean, look, like you mentioned, this is the Pac-12 is a tough softball conference, and
Yes.
then for them to say, hey, this is the last year of the Pac-12, we're gonna go and we're gonna compete for this championship and make that run in the tournament. That's absolutely amazing for Utah softball. So I just hope they can. The loss is gonna sting. Obviously, you never want to lose the championship game, but I hope they can just carry that momentum that they had in the playoffs and in the tournament, excuse me, heading into now the NCAA tournament, and just kind of continue to build on a little bit of momentum and see if they can make a deep run in the NCAA tournament as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see if they can do it. For me, I used to call some of these softball games a couple years ago, so to watch the growth and development of the program under Coach Hogue has been incredible. Mariah Lopez stepping up like she did this season, another fantastic campaign by her that included 200. That included just it's 214 strikeouts, just incredible. The things that she's been able to put on and do all season long. You look at the bats. I still remember calling the Haley Dennings of the world, the Ali Bellardi games, Julia Jimenez. So seeing them shine this past season has been awesome as well too, and can't wait to see if they can get it done against South Carolina. Definitely think this team is built for postseason, hence why they ended the regular season on a roll, Alex. So really excited about the opportunity the Utah softball program has had, and congrats to them on another great run in the Pac-12 tournament and another incredible regular season. Now we turn to postseason time, what it's all about. It'll be exciting to see what they can do. And speaking of excitement, Alex, you have a lot of exciting things going on. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
In regards to
whatever you want to promote, my friend.
Just whatever I want to
promote.
Oh man, where to start? Obviously, we're working with KSL. I'm working on some RSL stuff, some soccer stuff. We got high school championships coming up, man. But calling a bunch of games there. Just continuing to do all the work I do for KSL Sports. You can follow my page down there below on X at Napoles Alex for all the high school coverage. You can follow KSL Sports. My stuff will be on there as well. You can follow at RSL Show. I'll be doing soccer stuff there as well.
Alex, we always appreciate you having on. Best of luck with everything you got coming up. And thanks again for making the time.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for the invite, and we hope to do this again soon.
We definitely will. And thank you all for listening. We're actually going to I'll be doing it again really soon with all of you. I'll be back on tomorrow's show. We got a ton of more great Utah football content to break down, and just Utah athletics in general. So make sure you guys keep it at Locked On Utes. We'll be breaking down your team every day.